I know. Which is why from now on, you're not alone with him. Not ever. Marcus's voice had gone hard, dangerous. Every interaction is controlled, planned. We stay 3 steps ahead. Elena looked up at him, at the fierce protectiveness in his dark eyes, and something inside her cracked open. Before she could think, before logic could intervene, she rose on her toes and kissed him. Crossing the line. For a heartbeat, Marcus froze. Then his hands came up to frame her face, and he kissed her back with an intensity that stole her breath. It was nothing like Adrian's calculated touches, nothing like the practiced seduction she'd known before. This was raw, real, desperate, like Marcus had been holding himself back for weeks and finally couldn't anymore. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, reality crashed back in. "I'm sorry," Elena gasped. "That was unprofessional. We're working together, and I just don't." Marcus's thumb traced her lower lip, his eyes burning. "Don't apologize for that. Don't apologize for being the most infuriating, brave, beautiful woman I've ever met." "But Elena." His expression turned pained. "You need to be sure this is what you want. Not because you're hurting, not because Adrian's back and you need comfort. If we cross this line, I need to know it's real." "I don't know what's real anymore," she admitted. "All I know is that when I'm with you, I feel like myself again. Like the woman I was before Adrian destroyed her. You make me feel strong and safe and alive?" Marcus finished softly. "Yes. Alive." He kissed her again, slower this time, deeper, like he was memorizing the taste of her. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against hers. "We should stop. We have work to do, a plan to execute. This complicates everything. It really happened, why I made the choices I did. And if you're serious about selling those originals, I might know some collectors who'd be very interested. I could help you get the price you deserve." There it was. The hook, baited and set. Elena extracted her hand gently. "I'll think about it." "Don't think too long." Adrian pulled out a card, of course he had cards ready, and pressed it into her palm. "I'm staying at the Plaza, penthouse suite. Call me, Elena. Let's not let more years pass with this animosity between us. What we had was too special to end the way it did." Before she could respond, someone called Adrian's name across the gallery. He squeezed her hand once more, his eyes intense with something that made her skin crawl, then disappeared back into the crowd. Elena stood frozen for a moment, her heart pounding, her hand burning where he'd touched her. Then a warm presence materialized at her side, and Marcus's low voice grounded her. "Are you all right? I need air." He guided her toward the gallery's back exit, past bathrooms and storage rooms, until they emerged into a small courtyard garden. The cool night air hit Elena's face like a blessing, and she sucked in deep breaths, trying to calm the trembling that had taken over her body. "You did perfectly," Marcus said, his hands on her shoulders, steadying her. He took the bait exactly as predicted. "I feel sick." Elena's voice shook. Being that close to him, letting him touch me, listening to him lie about what we had. God, Marcus, how did I not see it 5 years ago? How did I let him fool me so completely? Because you loved him. Because you trusted him. Because you were young and talented and believed the best in people. Marcus turned her gently to face him. "None of that was your fault, Elena. The only person responsible for Adrian's actions is Adrian. He's planning something. I could see it in his eyes. He doesn't just want the originals, he wants to trap me somehow, to regain control. Life's been tough since I left, hasn't it? I heard you've been working at some small gallery, barely scraping by. That must be difficult for someone with your talent." The condescension in his tone made her want to throw her champagne in his face. Instead, she smiled coldly. "Actually, I've been doing quite well. I've rebuilt my career, my reputation. I'm even fielding offers for some of my older work." "Older work?" His interest sharpened, predatory. What kind of older work? Oh, pieces from early in my career. Some collectors are interested in original designs, preliminary sketches, that sort of thing. Apparently, there's quite a market for authentic Elena Rivera originals, especially given how rare they are. She delivered the line exactly as Marcus had coached her, casual but deliberate. Are you talking about the collection we created together? Adrian's voice had gone silky, dangerous. Elena, those designs, if they still exist, they're technically joint property. We developed them as collaborators, remember? Collaborators. Elena let the word hang between them, heavy with irony. Is that what you're calling it now? Interesting revision of history, Adrian. But it doesn't really matter. They're just gathering dust anyway. I haven't decided whether to sell them or simply destroy them. Too many painful memories attached. Don't. The word came out sharp, urgent. Adrian caught himself, modulating his tone back to casual interest. I mean, it would be a shame to destroy such beautiful work. Perhaps we could discuss this further? Have dinner, talk about old times? I'm in New York for a few weeks, and I'd love the chance to properly apologize for how I handled things in the past. Elena pretended to consider, letting the silence stretch just long enough to seem reluctant. I don't think that's a good idea, Adrian. The past is the past. Please. He reached for her hand, and she forced herself not to flinch at his touch. One dinner. Let me explain. Load quickly by surprise, calculation, and something that might have been hunger. He excused himself from his conversation immediately, moving through the crowd with the predatory grace she remembered too well. Elena. Her name on his lips was a caress and a curse. My God, I can't believe it's you. You look absolutely stunning. Adrian. She kept her voice cool, detached. I'd say it's good to see you, but I was taught not to lie. His smile was rueful, charming, perfectly calibrated to suggest just the right amount of regret. I deserve that. I deserve far worse, actually. Elena, I've thought about you so often over the years. I've wanted to reach out, to apologize for how things ended between us. How things ended? Elena cut him off with a harsh laugh. Is that what you call systematically stealing my work and destroying my reputation? How things ended? That's remarkably poetic for theft and betrayal, Adrian. Something flickered behind his eyes, annoyance, maybe, that she wasn't playing along with his remorseful act. I know you're angry. You have every right to be. But you have to understand, the business world is complicated. What happened with your designs, it wasn't personal. It was. Just business? Elena finished bitterly. Yes, I remember. That was always your excuse, wasn't it? Nothing was ever personal with you, Adrian. Not our relationship, not my trust, certainly not my heart. It was all just business. That's not fair. He moved closer, close enough that she could smell his expensive cologne, and her stomach turned. What we had was real, Elena. You were the most talented artist I'd ever met, the most genuine person in a world of fakes. I loved you. You loved what I could do for you. There's a difference. Adrian's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. There was the real him, Elena thought with satisfaction. The man behind the mask, the one who didn't like being challenged or denied. I see you've developed quite a sharp tongue, he observed. Maybe because I'm starting to care about you in ways I shouldn't, given the circumstances. Elena's breath caught. Marcus. We should go, he interrupted, stepping back before she could finish. We don't want to be late. The drive to the Morrison Gallery was thick with unspoken tension. Elena's mind churned with Marcus's confession, with the implications of what he'd almost said. But she forced herself to focus on the task ahead. Adrian. The confrontation. The plan. The gallery was already crowded when they arrived, the usual mixture of wealthy collectors, aspiring artists, and social climbers who attended these events more for networking than art appreciation. Marcus guided her through the entrance with a hand at the small of her back, the touch simultaneously professional and intimate. "Remember," he murmured in her ear, confident, indifferent, successful. "You're not the woman he broke. You're the woman who rose from those ashes." Then he melted into the crowd, becoming just another face among the guests, and Elena was alone. She accepted a glass of champagne from a passing waiter, using it as a prop as she moved through the gallery. Her eyes scanned the crowd, her heart hammering against her ribs, and then, there he was. The devil wears Armani. Adrian Blackwood stood near the back of the gallery, deep in conversation with an elegant woman in red. He'd aged well, damn him. The silver at his temples only made him look more distinguished, and he'd maintained the same athletic build that had once made her pulse race. He wore success like a second skin, comfortable and confident in a way that spoke of years getting exactly what he wanted. Seeing him again felt like being punched in the chest. All the old wounds she'd thought had healed split open, raw and aching. For a moment, Elena couldn't breathe, couldn't move, couldn't do anything but stare at the man who'd destroyed her. Then his eyes found hers across the room. Recognition flashed across Adrian's face, full. Focus on anything other than how her heart was racing. You approach him casually, like you're surprised to see him. You're cold but not hostile, you've moved on with your life, successful in your own right. When he inevitably tries to charm you or apologize, you mention that you've been approached about selling some old artwork, originals from your time together. You don't offer them, you simply plant the seed. Let him think it's his idea to pursue them. And if he doesn't take the bait? Marcus stepped closer, his hands coming up to rest gently on her shoulders. He will. I know my brother. The one thing he can't resist is an opportunity that seems to be slipping away. You're the original artist, the only person who can authenticate his entire operation. He'll want those originals desperately. What if he recognizes that this is a setup? Then we adapt. But Elena. Marcus's thumb traced her collarbone, the touch feather-light but burning. You need to sell this. He has to believe you're indifferent to him, that you've healed and moved on. Can you do that? Could she? Elena wasn't sure. But looking into Marcus's dark eyes, feeling the solid warmth of his presence, she found strength she didn't know she possessed. I can do it. Good. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Because I'll be there the entire time, watching from across the room. If anything goes wrong, if you feel unsafe for even a second, you signal me and we leave immediately. Your safety is more important than any revenge. The sincerity in his voice made her throat tight. Why do you care so much? This started as business, as taking down Adrian. But it feels like more now. Marcus was quiet for a long moment, his hands still resting on her shoulders, his gaze intense and conflicted. Because somewhere along the way, this stopped being just about Adrian. It became about you, about giving you back what he stole, about seeing you reclaim your power. And maybe. His voice dropped lower, rougher. In New York tomorrow, 3 weeks earlier than expected. What? Why? Elena's heart lurched. My contact at Christie's just informed me that Adrian's pushing to move the auction date up. Apparently, he's got competing buyers interested in the collection, and he wants to capitalize on the momentum. Marcus ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident. This changes everything. We're not ready. Then we get ready. Elena set down her coffee, her mind already racing. What do we need to do? We need to make contact with Adrian. Let him know the originals are available, but we have to do it carefully. If he suspects a trap, he'll disappear again. Marcus pulled up a photograph on his tablet. There's a gallery opening tomorrow night at the Morrison Gallery in Chelsea. Adrian's confirmed on the guest list. It's the perfect opportunity for you to accidentally run into him. Elena's stomach twisted. The thought of seeing Adrian again, being in the same room with him after 5 years, made her want to run in the opposite direction. But she'd committed to this path, and she wasn't the same naive girl he'd betrayed. "I'll do it," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "What's the cover story?" "The first move." 24 hours later, Elena stood before her mirror, barely recognizing herself. The woman staring back was sophisticated, confident, wearing a black cocktail dress that Sarah had insisted was perfect for the occasion, elegant enough to fit in with the gallery crowd, but striking enough to ensure Adrian would notice her. "You look amazing," Marcus said from the doorway, and something in his tone made her turn. He'd cleaned up well himself, trading his usual casual attire for a perfectly tailored charcoal suit that emphasized his broad shoulders. His dark hair was styled back, his strong jaw clean-shaven, and when their eyes met, Elena felt that now familiar electricity arc between them. "We should go over the plan one more time," she said, needing to into the lion's den. The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of preparation and planning. Marcus had rented a spacious loft in downtown Manhattan, transforming it into their base of operations. One wall was covered with their evolving strategy, another with Adrian's known associates and business connections. Elena found herself spending more time there than at her own apartment, drawn by the intoxicating combination of purpose and proximity to Marcus. He was nothing like Adrian. Where his half-brother had been smooth and charming, always knowing exactly what to say, Marcus was direct and honest to the point of bluntness. Where Adrian had made her feel special by putting her on a pedestal, Marcus treated her as an equal partner, respecting her intelligence and insights. And where Adrian's touch had been possessive, Marcus was careful, always maintaining professional distance even when she could feel the heat in his gaze. It was driving her insane. "Earth to Elena," Sarah's voice broke through her thoughts. Her friend stood in the loft's kitchen, holding 2 cups of coffee with a knowing expression. "You're staring at him again." Elena jerked her attention away from where Marcus was on the phone across the room, his deep voice outlining details with one of his contacts. "I'm not staring. I'm observing. There's a difference." "Sure there is." Sarah handed her a cup. "Just like there's a difference between working late and finding excuses to spend every waking moment with the gorgeous man who's helping you get revenge on your ex. It's not like that. Isn't it?" Sarah's expression softened. "Look, I get it. He's attractive, he's intense, and he's giving you something you desperately needed, a chance to fight back. But be careful, Elena. You're vulnerable right now, and mixing business with whatever this is becoming could end badly." Before Elena could respond, Marcus ended his call and approached them, his expression grave. "Adrian's made his move. He's arriving." Voice convinced Elena more than any evidence could. This wasn't just about money or business. This was personal, visceral, a wound that hadn't healed. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "I know what it's like to lose everything to him." "Then help me make him pay." Marcus extended his hand. "Partners?" Elena looked at his hand, then at Sarah's worried face, then back at the wall covered with evidence of Adrian's crimes. Every logical bone in her body screamed this was a mistake. But her heart, the part of her that had been frozen for 5 years, was finally thawing. She took Marcus's hand. "Partners. But if you betray me like he did, I promise you'll regret it." "Fair enough." His grip was warm, strong, and when his thumb brushed across her knuckles, Elena felt that electric jolt again. "Though I should warn you, Elena Rivera, I'm nothing like my brother. When I make a promise, I keep it. When I want something, I fight for it. And when I care about someone." He left the sentence unfinished, but the intensity in his eyes completed it for him. Elena pulled her hand away, her pulse racing. "Let's focus on the plan," she said quickly, needing to redirect the sudden tension crackling between them. "If we only have 6 weeks, we need to start immediately." Marcus nodded, stepping back to give her space. But as he began outlining the strategy, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that she'd just stepped onto a path that would change everything. For better or worse, her life would never be the same. The question was, could she trust Marcus Blackwood with her heart when his brother had already broken it beyond repair? Outside the hotel window, the storm continued to rage, lightning splitting the sky. And Elena couldn't help but feel it was an omen of the tempest to come. If we can get him to publicly claim the originals as his own work, or as his protégé's work, we can then prove they're actually mine. The original sketches, the dated photographs I took during the creation process, I kept everything. Exactly. Marcus's smile was sharp, predatory. We let him think he's won. We let him get close to the originals. And then we spring the trap at the auction itself, in front of everyone who matters in the art world. We don't just prove he's a thief, we humiliate him. We destroy everything he's built the same way he destroyed you. Elena's heart raced with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. This was insane. Dangerous. Everything logical in her screamed to walk away, to let the past stay buried. But the girl she used to be, the one who'd believed in justice and truth, was clawing her way back to the surface. And that girl wanted to fight. I'll do it, she said firmly, ignoring Sarah's sharp intake of breath. I'll help you take him down. But I have conditions. Name them. First, I want everything in writing. Every piece of evidence, every plan, every detail. I won't be kept in the dark again. Second, if at any point I think this is putting me or Sarah in real danger, I'm out. No arguments. And third. She met Marcus's intense gaze directly, I want to know the whole truth. What really happened between you and Adrian? Why do you hate him enough to spend 2 years of your life hunting him? Marcus's jaw tightened, something dark flickering behind his eyes. My father died 3 years ago. Heart attack, the doctors said. But I found evidence that Adrian had been systematically draining the family company, cooking the books, setting up my father for a financial scandal that would have destroyed everything he'd built. The stress killed him before the scandal could break. Adrian walked away clean, with millions hidden in offshore accounts, while I was left trying to save the company and clear my father's name. The raw pain in his voice. That you were unstable, that you'd stolen designs from him and other artists. He destroyed your reputation so thoroughly that when he started selling your work, no one connected it back to you. They thought he was the original talent. The folder contained printouts of forum posts, reviews, whispered accusations that had followed Elena like ghosts. She'd known her reputation had suffered after Adrian, but she'd never realized how systematically he'd destroyed her credibility. He took everything from you, Marcus said softly. Your work, your reputation, your confidence. And he did it with a smile, probably telling himself it was just business. Why? Elena's voice cracked. If you hated him so much, why help me? Why not just take him down yourself? Marcus was quiet for a long moment, his dark eyes studying her with an intensity that made her skin warm. Because I've watched you from afar for months, Elena. I've seen how you've survived, how you've slowly rebuilt yourself piece by piece. You're stronger than you know. And I think you deserve more than survival. You deserve justice. You deserve to take back everything he stole. The agreement. So what's your plan? Sarah interjected, her tone skeptical. Adrian comes to New York, and then what? We confront him? Call the police? This evidence might be enough to prove he's selling stolen work, but proving the work is actually Elena's after all these years will be nearly impossible. That's where the originals come in. Marcus pulled up another photograph on his laptop, this one showing what appeared to be an invitation to an exclusive pre-auction viewing. Adrian sending out feelers to his old contacts, looking for the original Elena Rivera collection. He's offering a substantial finder's fee to anyone who can deliver them. He knows the originals will authenticate everything he's built his reputation on. But they'll also prove he stole them, Elena realized, her mind beginning to work through the possibilities. Any to surprise him at his office, had found the emails detailing how he'd been selling her designs to international buyers, how he'd laughed about her naivety with his business partners. How he'd called her his golden goose who was too in love to see she was being plucked clean. Elena knocked. Marcus opened the door immediately, as if he'd been waiting right there. He'd changed into dark jeans and a gray sweater that somehow made him look both more approachable and more dangerous. His hair was slightly damp, like he'd just showered, and Elena firmly ignored the way her pulse jumped at the sight. "I didn't think you'd come," he said, stepping aside to let them enter. "I almost didn't." Elena moved into the suite, Sarah close behind her. The room was exactly what she'd expected, expensive, impersonal, neat. But the desk was covered in papers, photographs, and what looked like financial documents. "I've spent 2 years building this case," Marcus explained, gesturing to the makeshift investigation board he'd created on the wall. Photographs of Adrian at various events, timelines, connections drawn between names and dates. Adrian's been careful, always staying just ahead of the law. But he's gotten arrogant. This auction in New York, it's his bid to go fully legitimate. Once he's established himself as a major player in the New York art scene, he'll be nearly untouchable. Elena approached the wall, her eyes scanning the evidence. There were dozens of pieces she recognized, paintings that bore her distinctive style but carried other artists' signatures. Each one felt like a fresh wound, a reminder of how thoroughly Adrian had violated her trust. "How did he get away with this?" she asked quietly. "How did no one notice these were my designs?" "Because you disappeared from the art world after the breakup. You went from promising rising star to complete unknown. Adrian made sure of that." Marcus pulled out a folder and handed it to her. "After you left, he spread rumors. R.S. Your designs, your reputation, your future." Marcus reached into his coat and pulled out a card. "This is my number. I'm staying at the Meridian Hotel, room 1842. I have more evidence, more photographs, financial records that prove everything I've told you. All I'm asking is that you look at it before you decide." He placed the card on the nearby table, his fingers lingering for just a moment. "I understand trust doesn't come easy after what Adrian did. But I promise you, Elena, I'm not him. I'm the man who wants to make him pay for every life he's ruined. Including yours." With that, Marcus turned and walked back into the storm, leaving behind a silence so heavy it felt like a physical presence. Dangerous decisions. "You're not actually considering this," Sarah said after the door closed. "Elena, this screams trap. He shows up out of nowhere with a convenient story and photographs that could easily be doctored. For all we know, he's working with Adrian." "I know." Elena picked up the card, running her thumb over the embossed lettering. "But what if he's telling the truth? What if Adrian really is still out there, still profiting from what he stole from me? What if I could finally make him pay for what he did? Revenge won't heal you. It won't give you back those 5 years you've spent hiding from the world. Maybe not. But it might give me closure. It might give me back myself." Elena met her friend's worried gaze. "I need to know if this is real. I need to see this evidence." Sarah sighed, recognizing the determination in Elena's eyes. "Then I'm coming with you. If this is a trap, at least you won't walk into it alone." 2 hours later, Elena and Sarah stood outside room 1842 of the Meridian Hotel. Elena's hand hesitated over the door, her heart pounding against her ribs. This was insane. She should turn around, go home, forget Marcus Blackwood and his promises of revenge existed. But then she remembered the night she'd discovered Adrian's betrayal. She'd go. Entire operation and make him untouchable. Elena's mind raced. She did have the originals, locked away in a storage unit she visited once a year just to remind herself of her own foolishness. She'd kept them as evidence, as proof that once upon a time she'd been talented enough to create something beautiful, even if that beauty had been twisted into a weapon against her. "Even if I wanted to help you, which I don't, what could we possibly do? He's in Europe. He has resources, connections. I'm just a gallery artist trying to rebuild my life. He's coming here. Marcus pulled out another photograph, this one showing a promotional flyer for an exclusive art auction in Manhattan. In 6 weeks, this auction will feature the debut of a new artist. Someone whose style will look remarkably familiar to you. Adrian's planning to present your work as his protégé's creations, legitimizing everything he's stolen. But he needs the originals to complete the collection. He'll come for them. And when he does, we'll be ready. The proposal. Sarah's hand tightened on Elena's arm. This sounds dangerous. And frankly, too good to be true. Why should we trust you? You're his brother. This could be another elaborate scheme. Half-brother, Marcus corrected. We share a father, nothing else. Adrian's mother was my father's first wife, a woman who taught her son that manipulation was an art form. My mother married my father after Adrian's mother died, and she tried to give him a real family. But Adrian had already learned too well. He resented us, resented me specifically because I was everything he pretended to be. Legitimate. Honest. Loved. The pain in Marcus's voice sounded genuine, but Elena had learned the hard way that sincerity could be faked. Adrian had been a master at it. I need time to think about this, she said finally. This is a lot to process. If what you're saying is true, if Adrian really is alive and still using my work, then you have a chance to reclaim what's you. Ghosts don't stay dead. Elena's world tilted. The photograph showed Adrian, older, his dark hair touched with silver at the temples, but unmistakably him. He stood beside an elegant woman at some glittering event, and behind them hung paintings that made Elena's blood run cold. Her paintings. Or rather, her designs, reproduced and sold under someone else's name. That's impossible, she whispered. His company folded. He disappeared. Everyone said he'd left the country in disgrace. He did leave, Marcus confirmed, pocketing his phone. But disgrace wasn't his companion. Profit was. He's been operating in Europe for the past 4 years, selling artwork under various pseudonyms. Your artwork, specifically. The designs you created when you were together, the ones you trusted him with. Sarah moved protectively closer to Elena. And why exactly are you here telling us this? What do you want? Marcus's expression hardened. I want what Elena wants. Justice. Revenge, if we're being honest. Adrian Blackwood destroyed more than just one woman's trust. He's my half-brother, and he's been systematically destroying everything my father built, everything our family stood for. I've been tracking him for 2 years, gathering evidence. But I need your help to bring him down completely. My help? Elena's laugh was bitter. I couldn't see through his lies when I shared his bed. What makes you think I can help you now? Because you knew him intimately. You saw sides of him he showed no one else. And because, Marcus stepped closer, his eyes intense, you have something he wants desperately enough to risk coming back to the States to get it. What could I possibly have that Adrian would want? The original designs. The master collection you created together, the one he's been trying to replicate but can never quite capture. He knows you kept the originals. He needs them for his biggest auction yet, scheduled for 2 months from now in New York. An auction that could legitimize his. The stranger's arrival. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with the kind of face that belonged in classic films. Strong jaw, sharp cheekbones, eyes so dark they appeared black in the gallery's ambient lighting. But it was the way he moved that caught Elena's attention, purposeful, controlled, like a predator who knew exactly what he wanted. We're actually closed, Sarah started, but the man's gaze had already found Elena. I'm looking for Elena Rivera, his voice was deep, smooth like expensive whiskey. I was told she's the artist behind the Fractured Souls collection. Elena's heart stuttered. That collection was personal, raw, paintings she'd created in the aftermath of Adrian's betrayal. She'd never intended to show them publicly, but Sarah had convinced her that healing came through sharing pain, not hiding it. I'm Elena. She stepped forward, instinctively defensive. And you are? Marcus. He extended his hand, and when their fingers touched, Elena felt an electric jolt race up her arm. Marcus Blackwood. The name hit her like a physical blow. Blackwood. She jerked her hand back, her breath catching in her throat. Get out. Elena, please. I'm not him. I'm not Adrian. You share his name. That's enough. Her voice shook with barely controlled fury. Whatever game you're playing, I'm not interested. Leave. Now. Marcus didn't move. Instead, he pulled out his phone and held it toward her, displaying a photograph. This was taken 3 weeks ago in Geneva. That's Adrian, very much alive despite what you might think, and very much continuing to profit from your stolen work. The weight of yesterday. The rain hammered against the gallery windows like angry fists demanding entry. Elena Rivera stood before her latest painting, a storm of crimson and midnight blue that seemed to mirror the weather outside. 5 years had passed since she'd last felt truly alive, truly herself. 5 years since Adrian Blackwood had shattered her world into pieces too small to ever fully reassemble. Her fingers traced the edge of the canvas, remembering the girl she used to be. The one who believed in love, in promises whispered under starlight, in futures built on trust. That girl had died the night she discovered Adrian's betrayal, replaced by this cautious woman who kept everyone at arm's length. You're here late again, Sarah's voice cut through her thoughts. Her best friend and gallery co-owner appeared in the doorway, concern etched across her features. Elena, you can't keep living in this building. You have an apartment, remember? Elena managed a smile. The light is better here at night. Besides, I'm almost finished with the collection for next month's exhibition. Sarah crossed the polished floor, her heels clicking against the marble. It's been 5 years. When are you going to let yourself actually live again instead of just existing? I am living. The protest sounded hollow even to Elena's own ears. No, you're hiding. Sarah's hand landed gently on her shoulder. You're letting what Adrian did control you from the grave of your past. He doesn't deserve that power over you. Before Elena could respond, the gallery's front bell chimed. Both women turned, surprised anyone would venture out in such weather. A man stepped inside, water streaming from his dark coat, his presence somehow filling the entire space despite the gallery's generous proportions.